then you are able to create. Hey guys, this is Davor from Tennis Haus. Today, if you are a beginner player and you're starting to learn to serve, this video is for you. I will go through the grip, through the feet, what you do with the toss, all the segments of the serve that I think are important when you start to pick up the racket and go on the court to get your serving. So if you like what we do, turn the notification button on, subscribe, and share the video with some friends. All right, so the first thing, when you come on the court, you're new, you want to learn how to serve, you have to have the grip right. You do not have to have a perfect continental at the beginning. It can be somewhere in between the Eastern and the continental maybe. That might feel a little bit more comfortable, but stay somewhere close to a continental. What is a continental grip? So if you look at the racket, you have 8 bevels. So this is bevel number 1 on top, on the right top, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have those bevels and you put the index knuckle on the second bevel on the right top and your heel pad. What is the index knuckle? What is the heel pad? This is the index knuckle, this is the heel pad. You draw a line right there and then you hold the racket straight like this and you go straight down and put the index knuckle and the heel pad on the second bevel. So that's the way to do it with the heel pad and an index knuckle. The other way you can do it is you put the racket under your armpit. You go around the racket like this, around the grip, right here, and you pull the racket out like a sword. That was number 1. So now having the grip, what do we do when we stand here? I always say the toes of the left foot point towards the net post and the right leg is parallel to the baseline, and you want to have the middle of the right foot where the heels are if you draw a line. So you're standing like this. Checkpoint number 2, the feet. Make sure your shoulder width apart. You have a good stance, okay? Now, where do we start? You start always a little bit on the right side of yours and you start to bounce. I always recommend bounce the ball 3 times. Why do we bounce the ball? To forget what happened in the past and focus where we're going to serve, all right? So that serve is the only time, you have 25 seconds, the only time when you decide what to do on the court and you start it. You're always answering something from your opponents, but the serve is the only shot you start off. Remember that when you go. So we have the grip, we have the feet, we have the starting point. We go 3 times here. Now we have the toss. I recommend the beginner player to start the starting point, to start the serve a little bit higher, because when you toss the ball, you're having the weight on the front leg now, then you're going back, and then you toss the ball up. So if you start higher, your tossing arm has a longer way of acceleration, and that will facilitate your serve motion and the toss. So if you start here, beginner player tend to flick the wrist and toss the ball behind, or if you're a kid, then you don't have enough power to toss the ball up straight. So we're starting up right here, we rock back, and we toss the ball up. After we toss the ball up, after the right arm goes up. If you bring the right arm and the left arm up at the same time, you'll be one of the players that tosses the ball all over the place, and especially behind you. So remember, the arm stays straight, you go back, and you release the ball around eye level, and place the palm of the hand pointing to the sky like you would hold a coffee cup up here right now. Right? So I like the word placement. So you go back and place it right there. So now, how does the right arm go up? After you toss the ball up and spread the fingers, the racket goes up palm, we call this palms down. So you go back, toss, and the racket goes up, palms down, strings down, palms down. And you are in this position when the ball is at the peak and your arm is there, and you are here with the racket. So remember, when you toss the ball up, to not get the racket in this position. This is the most important part besides the toss, that your hitting arm stays up. So let's go through the steps again. The first thing was the grip, continental. Remember, armpit, or you go with the knuckle in the heel pad. The second thing was the stance with the toes pointing forward, and the middle of the right leg is in the right here with the heel is on the front toes. You bounce the ball 3 times, forget the pass, what happened, and focus on what you're going to do. You start high with the toss, so when you rock back, you have a longer way of acceleration for the toss. And you release eye level, and you go, after you toss the ball up, you go in this trophy. But you're not staying there the whole time. The serve is a fluid motion. So you go up and then you go and hit it. So the next part, once we're in the trophy position, in this position, it's just a hesitation, it's not a stop. The ball is going to be at the peak. And when the ball travels down into your strike zone, then the inside edge of the racket goes in here, and the elbow shoots out, the forearm goes up. You feel like you're going to hammer the ball in the last snake, you pronate your wrist, and everything happens quickly. That's all complicated, but that's how the segments work. What I want you to think about is, once you're in this position here, that the inside edge goes in here and the arm lowers a little bit, and you just shoot out and give the ball a high five. Keep it that simple. So you toss the ball up, you're right here, the inside edge goes in, and then the elbow shoots out and you give the ball a high five. So that was a lot, and the segments, you can practice those separately, right? So the grip, get familiar with the grip, then get familiar with the feet. Always do the same thing when you do something. Get familiar with the rhythm of the bounce of the ball. Do this with the racket, start up, rock back, toss it always at the same spot. Keep the racket up. Go in here, let the racket shoot out and hit it. So there are a couple of clue points I want to tell you that are important on the serve, okay? So when you start your belly button points, I call it to the crowd. So now, or even a little bit diagonal back, so you're coiling up here. So that means you're ready, you're sideways, you're loading into the back leg, and when you go up and you hit, that's when the belly button will start to point forward. Too many players are serving like this, and everything is already open. So the coil and the uncoil gives you a lot of power on the serve. This here is just like a weak serve that will get you by maybe a year, and then people start to get, as higher you get on the level, they're going to start to take advantage of that. So remember what I said earlier, you need to keep the right arm up, right? So you go up, you rock back, stay here, this goes in and you shoot out. So the belly button pointing to the crowd, and when you're done with the motion, the belly button points forward. Another thing you have to pay attention to when you serve, when you toss the ball up, a lot of players now, when the ball is up, they drop the arm too early, and a lot of balls go into the net. So you want to keep the left arm up as long as you can, and then when the ball starts to be in a strike zone, then it feels like you take the elastic band from up here and you pull it to your chest like this. And while you do that, your right arm shoots out and you go in, right like this. All right, very important, keep the left arm long up. And if you are one of the players who just started to play, as I said, this video is for beginners, and you toss the ball behind you and you hit all the balls out, that's because you tossed the ball behind you. A lot of players struggle with the toss, but the toss is one of the most important things. Get the toss straight. So for the beginner player, I would always recommend start to serve the ball flat first, so toss at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then you go to a slice serve where you toss it more towards 1-ish, but you stay 12:30, 1-ish, and you cut the ball. And the last serve you should learn is the kick serve, where you toss it to 11, 11:30, and you brush up on that ball. So when you go out and practice the first, like the flat serve first to get a feel, then quickly advance to the slice serve where you cut the ball a little bit more and you give the ball a side spin, and then you go to the kick serve. And once you master the serves, make sure you always start with the second serve to warm up, then you go to the first serve, and always go from slow to fast, from easy to hard. And remember, when you practice the serve, that no one rushes you, and come out actually and practice that, because what do we practice every day? Forehand, backhands, and volleys maybe, but we forget the overheads and the serve. And where do the club players mess up the most is the overheads and the serves, and that's a big part of the game. So if you don't train that, you're gonna have problems. So as always, you like what we do, take a second to subscribe, turn the notifications button on. And that was a quick guide and walk through the serve for beginner players. Thank you for your attention, guys.